Well, hey everybody, Coach Gary Michaeloni. Welcome to our time here together. Full contact project manager, and we're going to take a look at some cutting edge marketing, cutting edge project management things to make your business better, and things that you can use right away. Well, I am thrilled to be here again for MCAA, my fourth year in a row. And I think as we get started, should give some thanks out to some folks responsible, and we'll see if I can do this here. Okay, there we go. So Tim O'Toole and everybody at MCAA appreciate the relationship we've had over the last several years, and thanks for making this this event today possible. And also to Masonry Magazine, my head editor, Karen Hickey, all the great stuff that publication does for us. It's just, it's fabulous. So thanks again. Thanks again. Well, good question to ask. Who's Coach Gary? Why listen to me? Fair enough. I've been writing for Masonry Magazine. I'm into my 12th year now, believe it or not. Between Masonry and a couple of other magazines, I got over 3 million columns in print, mostly talking about project management and marketing things. But I'm more than just a writer, and I want to get that across to you. My background really is a lot like yours. Previously, as a business owner myself, I suffered through those things. I was also a project manager, an estimator. I was the collector, the payroll maker. Everything that you guys do, that's what it is that I was doing. So we trod the same road. And I want you to know I appreciate what you do, and I want you to know where it is that I am coming from on this. So let's take a look at what we are going to cover today and what you're going to be getting here. And so one of the big things that we're going to be getting is how to win on your project. If we don't win, and win most of the time, almost everything it's academic. So we have to do well on projects. We got to make more than we lose, and if we don't do that consistently, we won't be in business. So that's one of the linchpins of what we're going to be teaching today. Also, we want to do it in a way that we keep your client's respect and keep the client too. If you keep his respect, you probably keep if you keep the client, you'll keep his respect, and vice versa is what I want to say. And then when we close up, we will have some valuable parting gifts. It'll be at the close of the message, and it's some things that I have for you, and I want you to have, but they'll be available at the end of this message. So now, today's message. What do you say? Let's get to it. And we have a question here, and the question is this: how do we how do we get through the project so that your customer doesn't hate you? And how do we handle project bullies? We're going to take that head on. We're going to talk about how to successfully complete a project. And we're going to talk about also how to help your customer sincerely believe that you have his best interest in mind, so that he'll know that you're loyal to him and that he can count on you. And we're going to try to do this all with by using stories, and throughout this whole thing, there's going to be an overriding concept. And this is the overriding concept. Every successful winning project is always wrapped in outstanding customer service. This is a writer-downer, as I like to say. This is the whole project all wrapped together. This is where all the pieces join together in the middle. And if you complete a project and you don't have good customer service, it's not going to be as satisfying, may not be as profitable, and you may be looking for a new client later. So we want all these things to be done together. And it's also the perfect way that project management and marketing come together, because great customer service helps with great marketing. Okay, so that's one of the things that we are going to be looking at here. So the first point we have is getting through the project so that the customer doesn't hate you. And a very, very valuable point. So let me see if we can do this. Let me see if I can illustrate this best by telling you a story, okay? So I want to talk with you about something that happened to me. So I was doing one of the household chores that I hate the most, which is taking our plastic bottles and aluminum cans to the recycling center. Now, out here in Southern California, it is strongly suggested, air quotes, that you're not allowed to throw them away, but you must recycle them. So that's what I do. Now, the last time I did this chore a few months ago, the man who ran the recycling drop-off location was excellent. He was fast, he was efficient, he had a smile on his face, he kept an extremely clean site, and it's in a job that not everybody wants to do. But he did it, and did a good job. Now, I don't want to get him in any trouble, so I'm going to just give him the nickname here for the time being of Alexander Hamilton. Okay, so very impressed by Alexander Hamilton. I was so impressed that after I left, I decided I was going to call the parent company and let him know what a good guy this was. Well, I tried, but their phone number printed on the receipt was out of service. Darn. Well, next month, the service I received from him was equally excellent. So I told him that I tried to call his company and compliment him last month on what a great employee they had. Well, he smiled. Then he told me that, unfortunately, the number on the front of the receipt was old, but the number on the back was good, and he thanked me for even trying. And I promised him I would try again. And so I did. The new number did work, but it took me to voicemail hell. Any of you ever been there to voicemail hell? Yikes. Well, I selected the number for customer service, and I was put on hold. I waited about 8 minutes on my cell phone, and then I hung up. And I tried the number again, same number, same response. Another 4 minutes more wasted this time. Well, at this point, I am just a little bit mad, but I'm determined to win. So I hatch an idea. I dial the extension for HR. Surely human resources could pass on a compliment about Alexander. Well, I got through to the HR department and was told that they could not pass on a compliment, but that they could connect me to the direct line for the person who handles those calls. Okay, let's give it a shot, I said. Thanks. Well, the direct number rings, so I'm excited. And the recorded voice informs me that the person at that extension is away. There is no further instruction. I hear a beep, and then I'm disconnected. You've got to be kidding. Well, not one to give up easily. I look up the company online. I get the name of the president and the CEO. Figuring I'd call back. I'll get the employee directory. I did. And this guy, the president, wasn't even on the directory. So I picked somebody else as a last-ditch attempt and dialed their extension. The recorded voice on that extension let me know that, get this, I had to enter a PIN in order to join the conference call. Seriously? As I said previously, I had entered voicemail hell. This brings me to the subject of the day. Obviously, the guy who engineered this so-called customer service voicemail system didn't make it easy. And consequently, he doesn't appear to be very smart, and neither does the company. But how about you? How about me, for that matter? Everybody. How many things are we doing for our customers, employees, or suppliers that are not very smart? In fact, maybe they think that what your company is doing is not displaying very much wisdom. I did want to use the word stupid. So all of this begs the question, have you ever cast a critical eye on your own business, your own projects, looking for the obvious and perhaps the not so obvious? Isn't it time to ask you why you do some things in a certain way, even when nobody in the organization knows how that ever came to be in the first place? Is it, we've always done it that way? Well, that's not a very satisfying or wise answer. You know, the crazy thing is that mason contractors are always fighting the battle of the why. When an owner, a developer, an architect, engineer is considering a structure of some kind and is about to spec out something non-masonry, aren't you pitching the idea of using masonry because of its advantages, even though it might appear to cost more initially? That's a good question. So let's try a new idea. This is as an example. I did a short YouTube video for the Masonry Contractors Association of San Diego and Imperial Counties. It's called Top 10 Reasons to Build with Masonry in San Diego. Now, the checklist that makes up the video initially came from 10-year-old 2006 Masonry Magazine article by Christopher Huckabee. The article was the 10 reasons to build with masonry. And so that's what's behind the whole checklist. So the point here is that we're always striving to show why we have a better way, a better path, a unique point of view, a more efficient approach. You get the picture. If you like to get feedback from your customers, and you should, then make it easy for them to tell you. Don't be like the recycling company. As a matter of fact, you should always, always, always be seeking feedback, and especially testimonials from your satisfied customers, your material suppliers, and your service companies. Why? Why? Because you want more business, which means you want more people to find your business. So guess what? You make it easy. Novel idea. Something else happens when you make it easy. You get rewarded by Mr. Google for making things so easy. You do a good job at and do it often enough, and people will find you on the first page or two of Google or YouTube search. Out here in California, one of our favorite search terms is Masonry Construction San Diego. If you search for that, no matter where you are, you just might find some of the members of that organization. Of course, you could say something like, but we never used to do it that way before. And you'd be right. Because for one thing, we never had to do it that way. And the second thing is that we didn't know what we were missing. So let's go back to the woeful recycling enterprise for a moment. Imagine that you were its CEO and you found yourself needing to cut a few employees for budgeting reasons. No warning, but it has to be done this week. Wouldn't you wish for the kind of feedback you might have gotten from your customers like me? Clearly, you would never want to fire Alexander Hamilton, would you? He's one of your good guys. You want to keep him, sack a slacker. Theoretically, that's the way it should go. But too often, we make it extra difficult on ourselves and ultimately on our employees when we don't make smart decisions, but we just react out of panic. Or there's a problem on a project, a correction that needs to be made, something that has to be either paid for or charged off. What taste is left in the mouths of everyone involved if you aren't careful? There's an old saying, you've heard this, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Well, translated for today, if your client in the end isn't very happy with you, he's not likely to recommend you or use you again. Then you are the one who isn't happy. So my counsel to you is before we begin the project, any project, we vow as a company, as a team, we vow to have a happy client and excellent customer service in completing and winning our project. Okay, we're going to talk about now about how to handle project bullies. Most people and most projects are pretty decent. Folks are reasonable. But once in a while, you might run into one of those very difficult types. You know, the guy who thinks that it is an honor for you just to be on his project. Hey, we've all run into that same guy, right? I guess he travels a lot. To categorize this person as just obstinate and an obstacle to fair conflict resolution is not doing him justice. Face it, he is a bully. Now, there's a lot of talk these days about bullies. Bullies at school, bullies on the playground, bullies in college, bullies in my very favorite family TV movie of the season, A Christmas Story. That's the one with the recurring line running through it. Careful kid, you'll shoot your eye out. You know the movie I'm talking about. Well, bully seems to be a title everybody banters about these days. Almost like there's a bully behind every corner. But you know what? Bullies have always been around us. They are part of human culture. And they're a part of the history of this country. In my previous story about the recycling center, I used the name Alexander Hamilton because it's a popular name these days. Well, a huge musical play in New York with ticket prices that are pushing $1,000 each. Yikes. But Alexander Hamilton was a founding father. He was a contemporary of this man, Thomas Jefferson. And we can still learn a lot from those who risked everything to found our country. Seems like we are always running into bullies. But, you know, Jefferson learned a great lesson about dealing with bullies and dealing with them yesterday, as well as how we deal with them in our projects today. You see, back in the early 1800s, American merchant ships sailing the Mediterranean Sea, were constantly subject to attack by pirates. The pirates are real. Then they were subject to attack unless their country of origin had agreed to pay a tribute, which was basically a ransom in advance. Well, since the U.S. would not agree to pay a tribute, pirates would attack U.S. ships, would take their goods, and they'd often enslave the crew members and passengers, or they'd hold them for ransom. An old story? It's still playing out in the pages of newspapers and other media today. This one, you remember the U.S. The ship Maersk, Alabama, rather, their crew being rescued from pirates by the U.S. Navy in the Mediterranean Sea. So the lesson learned by the U.S., a very hard lesson as it turned out, is that you can't get along with a bully. You have to confront him. With the Barbary pirates, it took the presence of the U.S. Navy to put an end to the threats. In the movie A Christmas Story, Ralphie learned that he couldn't just go along and to get along with his nemesis, the bully named Scut Farkas. You remember this kid, right? But he had to confront him, which he ultimately did, and he beat the snot out of him. Confronting a project bully, though, is a little bit different. It's a little bit different, but there is a strategy. Now, I've written about this before, so I'm not going to go into it here, but I'm making it available at the end of our webinar in my gift package for you, so you'll have that resource. But basically, a terrific way to confront a project bully is to make him comply with the same exact terms of the contract, plans, and specifications that he might be holding over your head. Remember that just because someone in authority says you have to do something, it doesn't mean you absolutely have to, if it's not in the project documents or it's not in the law. Because here's the thing, ultimately, the owner of the project wants it done on time, doesn't he? If you deal with the bully early on, it will free up your crew later on and help your company to complete the portion of the project in time. So Thomas Jefferson, like Ralphie, learned the importance of dealing effectively with his bully. 2 centuries later, the U.S. Navy still patrols the Mediterranean Sea because there are still pirates around. Well, let's take a look at the next point. And it's a really important point because winning is still the goal. It's nice to talk about nice things and good customer service, but we still have to win. It's critically important to us. So when we talk about successfully completing a project, it includes winning on the project. Now, let's think about this. Your company's been chosen for a project, but why you? Well, currently, you've got a good enough reputation with the project's owner, the general contractor, and your price is right, and your field crew and your staff seem to function as a team. Basically, people believe in you. They expect you to do a good job. They want you to be nice. You still have to win, but you realize that after all, it is a jungle out there, and a misstep can seriously cost you. So let's consider for a moment the law of the jungle. We know that the strong survive. We know that the strong survive, but only the strong survive. And there's a difference. And it's important also to be the leader. What do we know about life in the jungle? Well, let's talk about lions. The male lion is head of his family, and the family is called a pride. And in this story, his name happens to be Egbert. Hey, it's my story. I get to name him. So it's Egbert. Egbert's the head of the family. He is the alpha lion. His 2 main jobs are security, which is protecting the pride from predators, and also procreation, continuing his line and his legacy. Well, how does Egbert do it? Well, Egbert's got a system. And the system is good as long as he is strong and he is alive. And the system works like this. The females do the hunting. They do the hunting, they bring the kill back to the pride, and the male eats first. He eats his fill and generally just leaves scraps for the wife and kids. Now, there's probably not going to be a Disney movie made about that family, but that's how it is. So there's Egbert enjoying the dinner. But that's how it's been for thousands of years, and it's likely not going to change. As a system, it's effective, although repulsive to our own instincts of family. And I've got to say, if you're a female, you have to become the alpha. Except in your case, you also have to do the hunting, don't you? So what happens if mean old Egbert, the daddy lion, abandons this time-honored system? If he's ill-fed, and if he's not at top strength, his harem will be taken away and his cubs killed. It's that kill or be killed phenomenon. In today's world, face it, you are Egbert. And unfortunately, unlike Egbert, nobody's going to get out there and bring you dinner, get you dinner and bring it back to you. And so you've got to do that. Plus, you've got to handle security and even the continuation of your company. You're responsible for it all. Somebody once told me something that if I wasn't getting the help I needed or was promised in order to get a project done, completed, said I should literally stand up on the conference room table and shout, as opposed to keeping my mouth closed and then failing because I had not insisted on the help or the circumstances needed. Put this another way. The alpha lion is going to roar at the lionesses, send them out to hunt, and feed him so that he can do his job. Failure is not an option for Egbert or for the pride or for you. What this means is that you have to win. Now, we do want to win in such a way that it appears we are gracious about it, and we should be, and very nice and very appreciative, but we still have to win. In business, it is kill or be killed. And I'll bet that a lot of old lions, people that you knew well, were dispatched during the last 8 or 10 years. Am I right? I think so. Well, you know, there's another old saying. I like old sayings, so you can see that. And here's the old saying. It's hard to remember that when you're up to your neck in alligators, that the original goal was to drain the swamp. You gotta win. And if you need to drain the swamp, you're probably going to kill some gators because you've got to keep your eye on the mission. You have to keep it there on the mission. You have to win. Well, we're coming up now to the final point, is point number 4, and it's how to help your customer sincerely believe that you have his best interests in mind and in your heart, so that he'll know you're loyal to him and he can count on you. I said before that that we need to begin and end each project with great customer service. Because if your customer strongly endorses you and your customer believes that you have in your heart a desire to serve and can sense your loyalty, it'll be difficult for someone to steal him away as your customer. This ties together the concept of great project management and business marketing, and you need both in order to succeed. Well, I have one final story for you in just a moment, but as I close now, I want to remind you that I have a digital gift basket, if you will, a digital gift basket that I want to give you. And in that digital gift basket is an ebook, which is a copy of my book on project management. It's a full copy. There's also a resource guide to help you better understand marketing considerations for contractors in 2016. In other words, what works, what doesn't, where to go get it. And 3, links to the YouTube video that I did for our local masonry chapter. Now you can link to that video and you can put it on your website as it is. Or if you have, you're a member of a local chapter and your chapter would like one for your area, you contact me and I'll customize one of these just for your chapter. I'll do that for you, okay? So check out that video. And that link will be in the gift basket I send you. The basket's not for sale. It is a gift. There is a catch though. You have to send me an email to fullcontactteam@gmail.com. I'll put that email address up again in a minute. And ask me to send you the gift basket. The catch is that you have to ask for this before the end of the month. So go ahead and do that today, okay? Hey, and if you would, I'd appreciate it if you drop me a quick email and let me know if today's message was helpful for you and how you intend on putting it to work. And again, I'll put up my email address in just a few moments. Now, I want to bring this all to an end with a final story and a thought for you, okay? So I want to share with you a very personal story that really illustrates the visible affection, service, and loyalty that we all want to see. It's all about giving. In fact, the first time I told the story, I called it The Gift of the Christmas Dog. Now, if I can just get through this. First time I met Kingsley, he was standing just inside my front door on Christmas morning, 2009. Now, my kids knew that we were thinking about getting a second dog, a big dog, to be a companion for our golden retriever, Olivia. So they brought one to us, a Great Pyrenees. Well, Kingsley definitely met the definition of a big dog, our Christmas dog. And he instantly became a part of our family, and we gave him his forever home. In his too short life, Kingsley's actions spoke volumes to me, and I think they will for you. He and I once did a public service video on YouTube, which you can still watch if you search for Kingsley the Marketing Dog. But anyway, together we urged people who have horses or any kind of pets to take responsibility for them, to provide the care that they deserve. Well, huge lesson for you. This is just an aside, but why wouldn't you, as a mason contractor involved in your community, do something similar with an organization you believe in to help others who are not so fortunate? It's being a good and decent person, and it can't hurt your business. But just do it for the right reasons. You know, too many so-called pet owners simply abandon their pets when things get difficult. Kingsley was a very big dog that came into our lives from someone who no longer wanted him. He didn't come to our family from a rescue organization, but he traveled the long road of neglect, and we guessed his age then to be about 3 or 4. In a way, Kingsley is the perfect model for a contractor. Independent, but caring. He had the sweetest personality imaginable, but was fiercely protective of his home. His huge front paws could quickly dig through hard dirt, making it fluffy and comfy for him to nap on. He loved his role as protector, but he also fancied himself as a lapdog, all 102 pounds of him, and he wasn't shy about invading your space. Kingsley demonstrated unconditional love for his family and took seriously his job as guardian. But that wasn't all. He loved to go outside with me. And when I put on my Coach Gary hat, you know what that is. So when I put that on, he'd jump up and he'd check to see if he was invited. And if I showed him his leash, or I just said, hey, you want to go for a walk? He got excited. His 2 favorite activities outside were going for a ride in my car or going for a walk. And he would often pull me over to the left rear door of my car and wait for us to go somewhere. In the photo, that's him sitting expectantly at his personal door into my car, waiting to get in. Well, as he grew older, it became more and more difficult for him to get to his feet. Sometimes when I called to him, he didn't get up, but except for when he saw me get my hat and hold up his leash. And that inspired him to not give up. But our walks became shorter and shorter. Our last outdoor walk was on a Sunday night in late August last year. He had hardly moved that day, and I wanted to encourage him to eat, drink, or move around a bit, all to no avail as he just continued to lie outside. So I tried one last idea as dusk settled in. I put on my hat and showed him his leash, and true to his heritage, he struggled to his feet, walked inside our house, and waited at the front door for me to attach his leash. We went outside for our shortest walk ever, only a couple hundred feet. And then he needed to lie down right there on the sidewalk, right where he was. In fact, I had to phone my wife and have her come and help me bring him back inside. Karen and I knew that his time was near, but even as worn out as he was, he still had that big, beautiful grin on his face. Kingsley left us Tuesday morning, the 25th, about 6 a.m. I found him shortly after, lying down near our front door, exactly where I saw him Christmas morning, almost 6 years earlier. He was still warm. You know, it sounds crazy, but that dog inspired me. His presence always encouraged me. The healing effect from loving an animal is amazing. So we've since adopted another Great Pyrenees dog. This time he is a rescue, and his name is Rex, which is Latin for king. So how perfect is that? And that's the reason, the lesson to this story, to never quit on your project, on your customer, or your family, to be true to your heritage. When things get tough for you, or your project is in trouble, or your customer is disappointed in you, that's the time to suck it up. Make things happen. You've done this for a long time. You know how to do it. Surely you can do it again at least one more time. Don't quit on your obligation, your relationships, your projects, or your customers. Kingsley never did, and I could always count on him until the very end. That's how your customer needs to see you. And if he does see you this way, you'll never lose him. Thanks for dropping by, everybody. May God bless you, your families, your businesses, and our great country.